Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
The air in Port Charles had a strange, electric charge that morning. It wasn't the gentle excitement of a wedding day, it was a tension that vibrated through the streets, whispered through the walls of the church, and crawled up the spines of every guest who dared to arrive at Nina's big day. The church had been lavishly decorated, white roses and soft pink peonies spilling across the aisle like clouds of perfection. Everyone had a role to play, smiles practiced, hearts pretending to be calm. But underneath that fragile facade, a storm was brewing, one so potent that it threatened to obliterate everything the moment it arrived. And that storm walked in the form of one man, Ned. Ned's steps were deliberate, steady, yet silent enough to make it seem like the earth itself knew he was approaching. The breeze brushed against the doors as he pushed them open, and for a heartbeat, everyone thought he was just another late guest. But his eyes, fierce, burning with a righteous fire, told a different story. He had a message, a judgment, and he wasn't leaving without delivering it. Today was supposed to be a celebration of love, of new beginnings, of two souls joining as one. But Ned had no intention of letting a wedding built on lies, betrayal, and deception proceed without intervention. Today, baptism would come, not of vows, but of truth. As Nina glided down the aisle, radiant in white silk, unaware of the approaching storm, Ned's voice broke the soft organ music like a hammer cracking stone. "Stop!" Gasps echoed through the pews. Guests froze mid-step. The bridal party turned in unison. The minister's mouth fell open. Nina's heart skipped, then thumped wildly as she looked up. Ned's presence was not just unexpected, it was a declaration of war. He stepped fully into the aisle, eyes locking on Nina's. "Before anyone says I do, before any rings are exchanged, before this so-called celebration continues, there's something everyone needs to know." The air grew heavier. Murmurs rippled through the church. Who would dare disrupt Nina's wedding? But the crowd didn't yet realize that the calm, composed man standing there was carrying a storm strong enough to tear through the walls of Port Charles itself. Nina froze, her smile fading into shock, confusion, and then dread. "Ned, what are you?" "I'm here to give you the truth," Ned said, his voice steady, unwavering, commanding the attention of everyone. "The truth that you and your groom, and everyone around you, have been desperately trying to hide." He turned slightly to face the audience, gesturing with open hands. "Everyone deserves to hear this. Everyone deserves honesty. And today, they will." The tension in the church became almost unbearable. Maxie gripped Peter's arm. Franco's jaw tightened. Even the minister, trained to maintain composure under the most chaotic weddings, took a cautious step back. Ned's gaze returned to Nina, his voice softening, carrying the weight of encouragement, not for her, but for the innocent who had been kept in the dark. "You think love can survive without truth? You think vows can hold if built on deception? They can't. And you, Nina, deserve to see the light before it's too late." Nina's lips parted in protest. "You don't know." "I know everything," Ned interrupted sharply, cutting through her defense like a sword through silk. "And the lies you've hidden, the secrets you've buried, they're about to come alive." He took a step forward, and the soft whisper of his words became louder, harder, almost terrifying. "Do you remember the threats you sent? The people you manipulated? The lives you put at risk? They are not just whispers anymore. They are screams. And today, everyone will hear them." The guests collectively shivered. Whispers of "what did she do?" and "I can't believe it" echoed in the air. Even the children sitting in the front row sensed the gravity, their little hands gripping pews tightly, eyes wide. "You see," Ned continued, now his voice low, calm, but venomous in its intensity, "you thought you could orchestrate this day. You thought you could fool everyone, hide the past, and step into happiness without consequence. But lies have a way of catching up. Secrets do not sleep forever. And today the truth rises." Nina's face turned pale. Her hands trembled. "Ned, please, don't." But Ned was unstoppable. He had the power, the courage, and the righteousness to expose her. He raised a hand, pointing firmly. Before anyone here pledges their heart, before vows are exchanged, you all need to know who Nina really is, and what she has done. The organ music stumbled, halting completely. The church seemed to hold its breath. Even the sunlight streaming through the stained glass couldn't pierce the tension that settled like a thick fog. Encouraging words now, meant for the innocent, spilled from Ned like a lifeline. To everyone here who believed in love today, who believed that weddings are sanctuaries, listen. Today is about cleansing. Today is about releasing what is toxic. Today is about standing in truth, not lies. You will survive this. You will heal from this. But you must hear the truth. The crowd was silent, stunned, teetering between disbelief and horror. And then, the hammer dropped. The secrets Nina tried to bury, the manipulations, the threats, the lies about people she was supposed to protect, they are no longer hidden. The files, the messages, the confessions, everything is exposed. And you, Nina, have a choice. You can confess now, take responsibility, or face the consequences. Gasps swept through the crowd. Nina's mouth opened, closed, trembling, her eyes darting to Peter. Peter's face mirrored shock and confusion. This was not the wedding he had imagined. Not the celebration of love he thought he had earned. Ned leaned closer, voice lowering to a menacing whisper only Nina could hear. Do not underestimate me. Do not think that my loyalty, my patience, my silence is weakness. I will drag every lie, every crime, every secret into the open. And I swear, Nina, if you refuse to come clean today, I will make sure the world sees the real you. Nina's knees buckled slightly. Peter grabbed her hand, trying to steady her. But the fire in Ned's eyes didn't waver. It was righteous, it was relentless, and it was unstoppable. This wedding, Ned shouted now, voice booming, is over. It ends here. And everyone, every single person in this church, will witness the baptism of truth. Not love. Not vows. Not happiness. Truth. And Nina, you brought this upon yourself. The guests were frozen, caught between disbelief and awe. Even those who had been skeptical of Ned's interference now realized the weight of his words. This wasn't just a confrontation. This was justice. This was moral reckoning. This was the cleansing that Port Charles needed. Nina opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. The shock, the fear, the realization of exposure, had left her silent. Ned didn't give her the mercy of pause. He didn't step back. He advanced, each step measured, each word deliberate. Everyone deserves honesty, he said, softer now, encouraging again, lifting the spirits of the betrayed. You deserve clarity. You deserve truth. And today, Nina, you will either give it willingly, or it will be ripped from you. The tension in the church was unbearable. Even the minister, usually calm and composed, whispered to himself, I've never seen anything like this. Ned paused, letting the weight of his words settle over the crowd, every heart pounding in synchrony with the storm he had unleashed. And in that silence, the air seemed to vibrate with anticipation, waiting for the moment when the truth would finally emerge and tear apart the facade Nina had spent so long building. Carly woke up in bed next to Jack after their night together, and she appeared largely shocked to continue the facade of minding about him. He woke up not long later and asked if she rued what they did the night ahead, but she didn't. She told him. I made my choice, and I am sticking to it. Jack apologized for hurting Carly because it was the last thing he ever wanted to do. He wanted to make in trouble to keep his work life separate from their particular life. Carly pretended to understand, and she summoned the courage to get herself together. Still, once she left the room, Jack called Jocelyn to ask for an update on her assignment. She explained that Carly was vehemently opposed to Lucas moving into Marco's house, and that she created pressure with her mama by taking Lucas' side over her own. Jack was pleased that Jocelyn had created an in with Lucas so she could insinuate Windmere. He prompted her to make effects right with her mama, both for security reasons and for the sake of his relationship. Jack noticed there was disunion between him and Carly, and he asked her to explain what was going on. She said the issue bothering her was related to Jocelyn's surprising decision to back Lucas and Marco's cohabitation. Carly believed she was the only one concerned about it, and she felt like Jocelyn was a fraud for giving her grief about her history with Sonny but having no reservations about Lucas living near Sidwell. She asked Jack for his sapience, and he encouraged her to make peace with her son and family. She was taken suddenly that he wanted her to go that route, but he deposited it as a strategic move on her part. He believed Marco would reveal his true colors ultimately, so it was further of a waiting game. The biggest mind-boggling part of it all for Carly was Jocelyn's unforeseen need to defend Lucas and Marco's relationship. Jocelyn felt horrible for Lucas because of his terrible experience in connections. The marriage to Brad was a disaster, and now he is tangled in the dangerous web of Marco and Sidwell. Vaughn encouraged her to keep the lesser good in mind and to shut down Faison's final design. Lucas did not subscribe up for peril the way she did, which is why she rued lying to him. Still, Vaughn offered to help break Lucas out of the situation if he supposed it necessary. Carly ran into Jocelyn outside the sanitarium and apologized for her jest toward Jocelyn. She did not want the disagreement with Lucas to come between them. Jocelyn said she understood where her mama was coming from, but she wanted to sit on the sidelines as a supporter of Lucas' life choices. Elizabeth pumped Lucas for information about his first night at Windmere, but he did not get important sleep. She asked him what went down, and he explained that everything was going well until it wasn't. Lucas knew that Marco harbored deep resentment towards Sonny for Natalia's woeful death. Still, he did not suppose her death could be criticized on Sonny. He understood how Marco came to that conclusion, but his exposure, putatively at Sonny's hand, was commodity that he maintained an issue with. Elizabeth supported Lucas's relationship, but she asked him to step back and not fit himself into the situation against Sonny. He'd too numerous loved bones in common with Sonny for that to end well. She tried to get Lucas to face the depth of the enmity between Sonny and Sidwell. Elizabeth did not want him to insulate his favored bones. For Marco's sake. He could be a probative swain without burning islands with his musketeers and family. Dante visited Rocco at the juvenile detention center and asked how he was managing. He admitted he was hanging in there, and it could be a lot worse. Dante pulled his son in for a clinch. Dante was bothered that people would accost him inside the center because of his family. Rocco just wanted to be taken out of there, and he promised he no way did anything to the lab. Dante revealed that Danny and Charlotte had come forward, and although Rocco opposed it, Dante did not see another way. Dante did not suppose Dalton's case against him was as solid as he believed it to be. Dabney and Charlotte admitting their involvement and attesting that Rocco no way entered the lab was the stylish legal strategy. He talked Rocco through the ramifications of his conduct, and he dithered when Rocco inquired if he'd made it home for the leaves. Turner asked Nathan if he would seen Dalton, since he would no-showed at an important meeting with the DA's office. She left several voicemails for Dalton, but he had not returned any of them. Nathan felt that a material substantiation in a high-profile case not showing up was odd, and Turner was at the end of her rope. She believed she would been duped by Dalton, so he could frame Rocco for crimes he did not commit. The forensics report did not match Dalton's interpretation of events. Dante showed up not long after that, and Turner snappily left. Dante asked Nathan for an update on the case, and, to Dante's surprise, he said he believed she planned to find a way to get Rocco out of the charges. Dante kept his distance from the report because of his close involvement in the case. Still, Dante asked for Otto to visit Dalton's house so they could bring him in for questioning. He'd a lot of explaining to do. Nathan couldn't find any trace of Dalton, and he bothered that Dalton had set up a way to vanish out of city. Laura returned to her office and set up Sonny there, staying for her. She was surprised to see him there, and she bothered that it was a bad idea to be seen together. He explained that since they had Rocco in common, it made sense for him to be there. Before she could get to that, Sonny had information for her about Dalton's murder. Sonny allowed. There would be a bit of twitch room before people started asking questions about Dalton's exposure. Laura refused to look in the box before coming into work. Sunny assured her that there was nothing to worry about. Nothing relating to Dalton remained in her vehicle, so there was no feasible substantiation tying her to his murder. She spent the entire night combing her apartment for traces of a planted murder armament. Laura was paranoid that further effects to criminate her for his murder would be set up. She assumed that since they put the body in the auto, they'd cover the rest of their bases. Laura was bothered that she should have called the police and placed the body back in the box. Since Laura prevaricated to the police when Nathan stopped her, walking that back would only spark dubitation and expose her and Sunny to serious charges. Sunny declared that Rocco is better off with Dalton dead. He pledged he would no way lie to her, and she understood. Sunny told her to act like it was business as usual and dissemble shock once she hears through another channel that Dalton was missing. A knock at the door nearly dropped Laura to the bottom. Luckily for Laura, Marty was the bone who stopped by, indeed if he was shocked that she was there with Sunny. Still, Sunny planned the grandchild card, and Laura offered to answer any questions about her ties to Sunny. After Sunny left her office, Marty was adamant that she stop spending so important time with the notorious toughie. Dante intruded their argument to inform Laura of Dalton's exposure. Jason returned to Britt's apartment and promised he'd have departed if it had not been necessary. She wondered why he'd come back, but he said he just wanted to make effects right with her. Jason wanted Britt to trust him enough to reveal her connection to Dalton. Britt accepted his reason, but she did not want to give him anything further than that. She believed her problems were her own, and she asked him to do what he does: stylish leave her. Jason pledged not to tell Britt how to live her life, but he set up a difference between them. He reminded her of her illness and how she would ultimately need someone. Jason noticed how vague Britt got whenever the content of her Huntington's disease came up. He connected her absolution to her work at the Five Poppies. Jason offered to help her, no matter what her terms were. She bandied his conduct from the night ahead, and he realized that he'd let her down. Jason knew that occasionally doing his stylish was not enough, but he was always able of being trusted. He said, "I am gone now prove to you that you can trust me." Nathan showed up at Britt's doorstep, and he asked if she had seen or heard from Dalton. Sunny dropped by the juvenile detention center to visit Rocco, and he was stupefied to see Rocco with a cut-open face. He realized why the guards stalled, and he ordered them to reveal the verity about what happened to his grandson. Sunny demanded that the guard shut his mouth, and he pulled Rocco away to uncover what had taken place. He did not know why he was attacked, but he'd a feeling it was related to Dante being his father. Sunny encouraged Rocco to use his name to blackjack his fellow capture. Rocco did not want to go down that route, but Sunny demanded his grandson to stay safe and be removed from there. Jack and Vaughn met by the pier to bandy his involvement with Jocelyn, and despite denying it, Jack decided to take matters into his own hands. Suddenly, two men restrained Vaughn and hauled him down. Jack advised him not to pursue a relationship with Jocelyn, and now he would be forced to face the consequences.